John O'Naylor.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Certainly, as we've gone through this Coroners Amendment Bill, it's been certainly a very interesting process and, as other speakers have already alluded to, a very challenging one, as we've had to confront some issues that I guess usually we try to avoid often in life, and certainly are experiences we don't necessarily want to have to go through ourselves. And I too just want to acknowledge the number of submitters who came and shared their personal stories with us in a public setting. That's a big thing to do, and I just want to again acknowledge their bravery and their commitment to wanting to see things improve. And so it was, I guess, a privilege for us to be able to share that time with them, and also to hear from them with regard to those issues they wanted to raise. Mr Speaker, this is a bill that's designed to improve people's interaction with the coronial service, and it's also designed to introduce and bring in some more pragmatic approaches for the coronial service to be able to deliver a better service to the people who interact with it, and also basically to deliver a better result for all of New Zealand. Firstly, and I think as a critical part of this, is the desire through this bill to be able to reduce the length of time that people wait for an outcome from for a coroner's report. For families who are grieving, who are wanting to bring closure, having that as an outstanding matter can just make the grieving process that much more difficult. And so, waiting 400 or 700 days for that report to come out really just isn't acceptable if we're wanting to deliver a service that is going to have a level of sympathy and empathy for those people who are suffering, who have been through the difficulty of experiencing the sudden loss of a loved one. And so if we can, through what we are doing as legislators, improve that for them, then it's absolutely beholden on us to do that, and so I support that. Mr Speaker, there's a practicality in this bill also about not making it mandatory for there to be coronial inquests in certain matters. For example, if somebody dies of natural causes, obviously perhaps they've had a long-term illness that's led to their death while they're incarcerated, if there's nothing pointing to suspicious death, it seems absurd that at the moment a coroner is mandated and has to do a full inquest rather than just an inquiry. And so, Mr Speaker, this is a practical step that's been taken. Of course, there's nothing to stop a coroner from actually doing an inquest if they've got concerns, and they can still follow through with that. And just in response to what we've heard with regard to the now non-mandatory inquest for service people who die in the service of their country overseas, there's nothing to stop if the Auditor-General perceives that there is a need to have a coroner's inquest or an inquiry, then the Auditor-General can still do that. We're not prohibiting the coroners from being involved at all in those overseas deaths of service people, but, Mr Speaker, we are actually ensuring that it's not mandatory, it doesn't have to happen, it doesn't prevent it from happening. And so I believe that the concerns that the Labour Party have raised can be addressed. If the Auditor-General believes that the family do need to have that coronial input, not just the service inquiry, then he or she, whoever's holding that office, can make that happen. In summary, Mr Speaker, this is a balanced bill, it's a pragmatic bill, and I hope that it will go some way to alleviating the suffering of New Zealanders who have suffered the sudden loss of a loved one going forward, and it's a pleasure to endorse it to the House.